Hey everyone, I'm Spider-Man 1991, and this is what I like to call a bonus review. A bonus review is something I do when there are comics books, single issues that I read that I didn't get the week they came out, and they weren't included in the weekly review due to various circumstances. Either they were off my pull, I forgot to add them to my pull list, or the store didn't have it in time. So whenever I get a certain amount, I like to do a bonus review for you guys, the fans, so that you can keep up with what I'm reading. Alright, so fortunately, they're all these titles, they're from Marvel, so let's get started with Fantastic Four number 2. Picking off right after number 1 ended, the Fantastic Four are dealing with a huge horde of alien bug-like creatures that escaped from a portal from the Baxter Building. And while all the heroes in New York are dealing with this, the Avengers, some X-Men, Fantastic Four, Reed figures out, Franklin Richards, Sue and Reed's son, tells Sue that the creatures apparently came from the pocket universe he created from the heroes during the whole Onslaught and Heroes Are Born story arc. And apparently, and according to Franklin, the universe is sick now, which is somehow what let these creatures out. And eventually, though, Reed is able to capture one of the creatures, and he's able to build a device that will spread a cytotoxin that will destroy all the creatures. However, it needs to be ignited by Johnny Storm's flame in order to properly detonate. So Johnny takes the device, he goes up in the sky, uses his Nova Flame to set it off. Boom, giant flame, and only the invading creatures are destroyed. However, when Reed, Sue, and Ben go and check on Johnny, they find him lying there, and he says that, and according to Johnny, he no longer has his powers, and that's where the issue ends. Okay, this is the first arc on Fantastic Four written by James Robinson, and if we were at the beginning of the last issue, you'll know that this story arc is apparently somehow the fall of the Fantastic Four. And for Johnny, it showed him the way Sue described it, he lost himself. And so I think that obviously, and so understanding what happened, and so I think this is probably the start of Johnny's side of the story. He pretty much loses his powers, and for most of his life he was the Human Torch. That's where he based his identity on. And so now, without his powers, he's just Johnny Storm again. So I think that's the whole issue. I think Johnny's going to go through a whole probably a whole identity crisis about who he is now without his powers, what good is he to the team and stuff. And also apparently also in the first issue we saw that he was supposed to be starting a music career. So that will be a little interesting to see how that works out. But yeah, obviously there are big changes in store for the Fantastic Four. Johnny has just lost his powers. There is a high possibility that he will get it back. This still is a very interesting story arc. So right now, Fantastic Four number 2, definitely a buy. But however, go get the first issue so you understand what's happening here. Alright, next up, Hawkeye number 15. This issue took a while to come out. It really did. And I remember looking at Comixology and planning my pull list, and it said it went from Hawkeye number 14 then to Hawkeye 16. I'm like, wait, where's 15? When's that coming out? Fortunately, though, the transition from issue 14 to 16 was pretty much just shifted gears from Clint Barton to Kate Bishop. And picking up, and pretty much for issue 15, it's basically Clint Barton and his brother Barney protecting Clint's apartment building from the Tracksuit Bros, who are kind of like this small Russian mafia that are apparently trying to get the building back as part of a bigger real estate thing so that they could sell it and make millions to this company that wants to level the entire area. So pretty much Clint didn't want that to happen, and Clint's just now finding out that this is part of a bigger thing. And of course, when eventually though, and throughout the issue, it's just Clint and Barney are dealing with the Tracksuit Bros, and eventually when Clint realizes someone let them into the building, he thinks that they're still out there. And when he goes to investigate, he suddenly Clint is shot and killed, then Barney is shot and apparently killed by the same assassin who a couple of issues ago killed Clint's friend Grills, and that's what happened. That's what happened in Hawkeye number 15. Okay, Hawkeye, it's still a great series. I mean, yeah, this was a little snafu with the shipping schedule, but overall, it's still a great series. And obviously, Clint is not dead. I'm not so sure about Barney. Maybe he's still kicking, but who knows? But yeah, pretty much Clint and his brother. So pretty much this issue does really well. I mean, issue 14 focused more on the relationship between Clint and Barney, but in this case, it just focuses more on them in the present. And they're both, and obviously Barney is willing to help his brother out. Unfortunately, though, they do meet their some untimely ends. But yeah, there's some great dialogue in this. And again, And again, for this issue, Clint does still continue to interact with the three important women in his life: Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, Black Widow, and Bobby Mockingbird. I forgot her last name. Anyways, and I remember that happened in another issue where Clint had to deal with the three of them again. So the same thing is happening with this in this issue, and also Barney. But this time it's with his brother. So. Pretty great. So yeah, this series is pretty great. Hawkeye is really definitely a buy. Alright, finally, last comic. Miracle Man, number 3. Yeah, this is weird because in my last comic review I talked about Miracle Man number 4. Well, this is Miracle Man number and now we're getting to Miracle Man number 3. Sorry, but I did, just to point out, I did actually read this before I read the comics from the last week of March, so just want to point that out, that just the review part of this is out of order, not my reading order. So anyways, Miracle Man number 3, pretty much Miracle Man is getting the ever-loving stuffing beaten out of him by Kid Miracle Man, and this is really something ridiculous about how Kid Miracle Man is defeated. Pretty much in a moment, and this is something that you see in a lot of comic book villains, but their ego is always the biggest weakness, because right when he's about to kill Miracle Man, he goes like, "Yes, I did it. I defeated you. I'm the one who..." No, that's Miracle Man. The greatest hero is about to die by his sidekick, Kid Miracle Man. And he just realizes, oh crap, I just said that. And because he said Kid Miracle Man, he turns back into regular Johnny Bates, who apparently hasn't aged since the accident that killed young Miracle Man, turned Miracle Man back into Michael Moran, and made him forget ever since the whole accident that killed young Miracle Man. And so pretty much right when he turns back to Johnny Bates, Johnny is like in a state of shock and panic, like he's just psychologically broken, and Miracle Man is about to kill him, but at the last minute he decides not to, because he sees like this kid who's really weak and in pain and confused, and he's just like, okay, no, I'm gonna let this go, because I think now he's never gonna say the word again. And when Johnny's taken to like a psychiatric hospital, we see in his head that apparently Kid Miracle Man is now like a completely different personality in his head, and he's trying to tempt him to say Kid Miracle Man again so he can turn back and so he can get out, but Johnny's not letting him. And Johnny is also in kind of a state that I would say is pretty similar to, is like in some sort of state. The way he's acting right when he gets to the psychiatric ward, like he's not talking or moving. He's kind of like, it kind of reminded me of the Joker at the beginning of The Dark Knight Returns, like right before Batman got back. Joker was just kind of in this whole like, not caring, not doing anything, not speaking state. And the same thing happened to Johnny. So, yeah. And also later in the issue, when Michael and Liz are trying to like figure out some mysteries behind his powers, Liz reveals to Michael that she's pregnant, and it happened right after they spent the night together while Michael was still in his Miracle Man form. So the kid is technically Miracle Man's. And then the next day, after Michael goes and visits the newspaper he does freelance work for, he's captured by a government agent named Evelyn Cream. And that's where the issue ends. Okay, Miracle Man number 3, very impressive. Once again, this was like a big thing in the 80s. Taking what I just said about how how Johnny's comatose state reminded me of the Joker in The Dark Knight Returns. Well, the whole Miracle Man's former sidekick, Kid Miracle Man, becoming a supervillain and turning against him kind of reminded me of The Dark Knight Strikes Back, where Dick Grayson went insane and became a serial killer, and the new Joker and stuff. So that was pretty similar, but it was very interesting. And also very interesting how, and I think it's also something that was interesting added to Miracle Man's return, was that, you know, he thinks that he was the only one that survived. He thought his two sidekicks were dead, like his two best friends, but when one of them turns out to be alive, he's excited. But unfortunately, it turns out that he's not the same person anymore. He's evil now, he's sadistic, and not the same guy. And he almost ends up killing him, but in the end, he decides to change his mind because, you know, he thinks the problem is safe, but we'll have to wait and see if that's the case, because Kid Miracle Man is still out there, and he could return. Although the story's like 20 years old, so yeah, I'm not going to hold back. Yeah, he does return, and there's a huge battle and stuff. Anyways, but yeah, overall, Miracle Man, it's a really great series. Something a little different. It's definitely, if you're a big fan of superhero comics from like the 1980s and stuff like that, like Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, then this kind of has the same themes to it. So I think that's something that people like that would enjoy. So Miracle Man is definitely a buy. Okay, and that is it. I hope you enjoyed this bonus review. If I ever get any more comics that I forget to bring up in the weekly review, or I miss them, you'll probably see a couple more of these. But let's hope not. Let's hope I can get all my comics on time and include them in the weekly review. Okay, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate your support. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.